Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. I should see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today, where we'll be relaxing as per usual. What are we going to talk about today? I'm not really sure. Wait, hold on. Did I upload a video today? Because I don't have any backlog right now. Okay, I do. Fantastic. What was I going to say? Okay, yeah. So yesterday was friend's birthday. We were hanging out. That's why the recording was so late night last night. Now we're sort of back to regularly scheduled recording times, but I don't know. I feel like there should be a lot to talk about from that because I was, but I don't really know where to start. But anyway, hello everyone. Right now in Fawnhollow at 6:04 p.m. on Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. So some of it I suppose I'll talk about later. You know, let's put some distance between it, and then I'll bring it up again. But one thing I was thinking about actually recently, which can be a small conversation topic, which, I mean, you can probably already tell from the title, but again, I am not privy to that future information, is a tens machine, I suppose. You might be like, where is this coming from? What's this got to do with birthday? Well, okay, the long story short is one of my friends has a tens machine, which, what does it stand for? I don't know, it's like trans electrical neurological system machine, I don't know, something like that. Sensory machine, that probably sounds right. I don't actually know. I assume they have it for pain, like chronic pain. If anything, I haven't actually spoken to them about it because I'll be honest, I didn't even know they had it. Makes sense in retrospect. But and when I went on holiday, with this friend and also the birthday friend yesterday. Apparently the birthday friend tried out that machine, I suppose, on holiday and actually liked it a lot. So when we were coming up with like gift ideas for his birthday friend, one of them, my other friend suggested, sorry, there's like, I'm trying to avoid using people's names because I don't want to use personal identifier, PII, I suppose, for my friends, or myself, to be honest, on uploading onto the internet. Certainly, while I think most of them don't care in the slightest, I suppose it's just my perspective of, the internet is forever and the permanency of it. You never really know, and the cost is, I suppose, it's harder to follow the story. But anyway, another friend suggested that for his birthday friend we get him a tens machine because apparently he really liked it like a lot on holiday, and I was like, okay, you know what, no, I trust you. I had no idea this even happened, but if he liked it, he liked it. And yeah, so we were actually trying it out yesterday. So if you don't know what a tens machine is, I have a basic understanding of it, but basically you have like these anodes and cathodes, I suppose, electrodes, which you are these like sort of pads which you place onto your body, and then through them, you always need to place them in pairs, as I understand it. They will send electrical impulses through your body which can stimulate your nerves somehow. And I believe the main usage they're used for is some sort of like form of I'm not sure if therapy is really the right word. Like, I was going to say physiotherapy, but I don't know if that counts as physiotherapy. But it's basically used to relieve pain or distract from pain or something. Or, like, especially if you're, like, intense, like, cramps or intense, like, chronic pain or something like that. I think it can help. I'm not going to say it's like it's a miracle cure because, for one, I don't even know if it's a miracle cure. But two, I'd imagine everyone's different. Some people probably use it and it's, like, amazing. Some people probably use it and it's, like, it does nothing for me, etc., etc. I'm not a licensed medication, that's not a word, doctor, so don't take my words with a pinch of salt. Basically it has medical uses, but I also think it's meant to be able to be used as other things as well. Like, it seems, at least on the use case, you can use it as like a massager, not in the same way as a massage gun. It's a very different feeling, I would say, but it has its uses, essentially. What I mean to say is not just like some weird novelty, but I think the thing that most people sort of know it for is like a pain simulator thing, because that's what I think a lot of viral videos are for. Like, at least the way I knew of it was from like a YouTube video. I can't remember, maybe it was like Try Guys or something, where they did like men simulate pregnancy, and they used like a tens machine or something similar to a tens machine, and they stuck it on at certain areas, shall we say, and then turn it on, and it was meant to simulate the contractions during childbirth. Because I mean, that's kind of like what your muscles contracting are, is just like electrical impulse being sent to a muscle, and then it like pulls a tendon, and it contracts a muscle. It contracts a muscle, and that tendon will pull the bone and the joint, and it will make your whatever joint bend. So, using the electrical stimulation to stimulate your muscles can stimulate. Oh my god, going back and forth, these muscular contractions. which, you know, there are a lot of them during pregnancy, which is why it's so painful. So we were trying it out yesterday because I was actually kind of curious about it, because I had seen a video and apparently it was like really, really painful, and I was like, oh, you know, I kind of want to see what it's like. I would say I probably have a higher pain tolerance. I'm not sure if I'm the average person. Maybe that's going a bit too high. Maybe, I'm not sure. I've not like officially tested it, I suppose, but I have a pretty reasonable pain tolerance, I would say. So I was kind of curious to, one, see how painful it actually is, but two, actually kind of what it feels like, because I don't really know much about it. So that's what we were doing, you know, after we had a birthday activity, which I'll talk about like in a different episode, I suppose. We were trying out the TENS machine. It feels very strange, is what I'd say. It certainly is painful, I think, on the higher settings, but it's not like, I wouldn't say it's like I wouldn't say I'd be operating at 100% of capacity if that was like a constant pain, I suppose, going on, but it would certainly be like, it's, how do I describe it? You can work for it, but it's not comfortable in the slightest. Because this one had like different modes. So I don't know if there's like other places necessarily which are better to stick them on. Like I remember in the TENS machine it says things like on the back, lumbar region, like hips. But we just like stuck it on our stomach. I don't know why. I don't know if that's even like a necessarily a good idea. And then like one of my friends was the first one to go, and he was just like this. He was just going like, ow, ow, ow. Like, you know, like option 3 or 4 or something like 10. It's not meant to be me like flexing on my friends or like calling them out or something. Everyone's got different pain tolerances and how much they're willing to deal with, which is totally fair. Like if you're in a safe environment like this, why subject yourself to more pain than necessary? And then, you know, another friend had to go, and he was like, oh yeah, it's pretty painful, as it goes up to like 8, 9, 10 or something. And then I had to go, and it is pretty painful. I don't know how to describe it, except for it kind of feels like something is like not pinching your stomach, but sort of like grabbing and like pinching and rolling it between your fingers, your stomach, depending on the mode. That was like the basic mode, I suppose. I guess it's kind of like having weird stomach cramps, which is kind of, I suppose, the point of a simulation, right? I mean, it kind of is. It's kind of like forcibly getting your muscles to cramp. I would say it's like not like a survivable. Survivable, obviously, it's not going to kill you or anything. I wouldn't like sign up for it like all day or something. If it was like if it was like, hey, would you take like £1 million to have like it on max setting on your stomach, I suppose, the entire day, I'd probably think about it. I probably would still do it, I'm gonna be honest. But if it was like at level 6 or 5 or 7 or something for the entire day, I'd be like, easily I'll take that. 8, 9, 10s was certainly quite painful, I would say. It's not exactly enjoyable, but you know, I don't think pain in general is that enjoyable. I don't know. There was some really weird phrasing here, and I'm not trying to like portray myself as like a masochist or anything like that. But you know, sometimes there's a pleasure in pain from, you know, like no pain, no gain is kind of what I mean. Anyway, so we were kind of not using it, I think, for its intended medical purpose. Well, okay, the first time we found we weren't using it for its intended medical purposes. And then afterwards, you know, as usual fashion, when you finish experimenting, you go like, wow, that's pretty painful. And like number 10, and you tried out all the modes and that sort of thing. We start trying to use it like as the booklet did. So one of the things apparently you can do is you can put it like on your hands or something, and you do it. I will say that one felt significantly worse on my hands than on my stomach. Like there's like the vibrating ones on your hands just feels fine. What I would describe it as if you've like ridden a bike over like a cobblestone street and it's like really bumpy, or like even better if you've ridden a motorbike, I suppose, with that, and you just go like that. It's basically like holding on to the handlebars really tight for a cobblestone road for like a real long time. It's just like a really strong vibration. But there's another mode on it which I can't remember. I think it's called like acupuncture mode or something, which basically are like these like sharp like quick pulses. Well, on your stomach it basically just feels like someone like flicking your stomach like over and over again in a concentrated area. But on your hands, I don't know if we wired it up wrong, it felt terrible. It basically, how I described it to my friends, is it felt like someone was like plucking my ligament in my wrist, or like flicking it, like strumming it. It wasn't like painful in a sense, but it was deeply uncomfortable. Like I don't know how to describe it, you know, because it is painful, but it's not like when I think of painful, I think of like, oh, you know, like a cut or something. That's painful, and like the bleeding and the stinging and that sort of thing. That's how pain feels to me. But this was or pain from like an ache or something like that. But this didn't feel painful in that same way. It just felt deeply, deeply uncomfortable. You know, like I'm trying to think of a good example. I don't know. I don't know if you've ever been under anesthesia or something, or if you've had, like, I've had like my gums numbed while a tooth was extracted. It feels like that. It feels very uncomfortable. Like when your gum is completely numb and they're taking out the tooth, you feel like that sort of sense of pressure, but it doesn't hurt. Like you're not going ow or anything like that, but you don't like that sensation. That's kind of how it felt like. It felt like I can't describe it better than someone that ligament which, you know, runs down your forearm, but the underside of your forearm from your palm downwards. It basically felt like someone was pulling on that and flicking it, which was deeply, deeply weird, and I did not enjoy that part. So I would say definitely better on the stomach than on the hands. I didn't try it, but my friends tried it on like the back, like not the small of the back. I don't know what the top part of the back is called actually. The part just behind the neck or whatever. And on low settings apparently it's actually like quite nice as like a massager. I don't. Like, we tried it, and then we also, like, my friend actually had a machine gun. My other friend, like, introduced another friend to the story who was also there, had a machine gun. The machine gun actually feels significantly better, I would say, than the TENS machine, but of course they have different purposes. Like, the TENS machine is specifically meant to be through electrical impulse stimulation, as, you know, it's meant to be for, well, not ideally, but its target use cases for specific conditions, I suppose, which it benefits from, rather than a machine gun just kind of being like a catch-all, just a vibrating tool which kind of feels nice to hold up to your back or whatever. So, yeah, me saying this, of course I understand that they have different use cases, and it's not really fair to compare them in that sense, but apparently, like, it felt pretty reasonable, like, to keep it on, like, a low setting. Like, I don't imagine you're meant to use it and be like, well, I'm going to 10 all the way, because that's a little bit insane, unless, well, I don't know, unless you're meant to do that. Again, I don't really know proper usage of a TENS machine, and I would defer to my friend, if anything like that. But it was interesting, because as I say, it's something which I shouldn't say I've seen online in videos of being like, oh, this is like a simulation of like I feel like always the big ones is like, oh, men get like period cramps, men get pregnancy like contractions, etc., and they use a TENS machine to simulate that. Which apparently is actually pretty decent at simulating, which makes sense, you know, period cramps, what are they? They're muscular, well, yeah, it's like your muscles contracting like crazy, like cramping, kind of. I'm not saying to say kind of, it basically is, isn't it? And same things with pregnancy. So, you know, this machine is deliberately made to simulate that. So it feels like it would be pretty reasonable for the simulations to be like that. I don't know. I can't say I have much interest in getting a TENS machine for myself personally. I don't really have much interest in even getting a machine gun, so I don't know why I would just like jump the gun and be like, okay, instead of a machine gun, I'm going to get like a... I just realised I've been saying machine gun. I meant massage gun. I don't intend to get machine gun in the slightest. But instead of getting like a massage gun, I'm intending to get a TENS machine. It seems like a bit of a jump, especially because I don't really have a need for it at the moment. I mean, I'm sure there are use cases, like even like I don't suffer from any like pain conditions or is it called endo? I forgot. Something like that, which often has as a use case, but I'm sure you could probably find it useful if you don't have any of those conditions in the first place. Whether it's actually beneficial or not, I could not say in the least. But at the very least, you know, I respect it from it being a pain simulator. Pain is not exactly the most transferable of sensations. It's a big issue. I imagine it's a big issue for like the medical world, especially because, you know, I don't know if you've ever been to a doctor and been like, oh, rate the pain on a scale of 1 to 10, and then you just sort of sat there being like, I don't even know how to conceivably rate this on a scale, because for one, it's very subjective, it's based on your own opinion, and two, it's only based on the pain sensations that you have felt. So, you know, me at like 7 years old, you know, getting a paper cut, being like, wow, it's an absolute 8, 9 or 10, it's like one of the worst pains I've ever felt. Celestial here. But, you know, now me being older, I'll be like, oh, you know, it's probably like a 3 or something. It's like, had worse pain. And it's also to do with your, like, pain tolerance, and it's not very... I guess it's inherently a subjective scale, which I'm not going to belittle doctors and be like, oh, they don't know that. Of course, doctors know that. Of course they know it's subjective. They just kind of want... They probably want it as to, like, a gauge to be like, how well are you holding up with this pain? Like, can you function properly? stuff like that. But, you know, having a way, I think, to be able to simulate the pain more universally for people is beneficial, you know, right? Like, someone suffering from, like, pains in, like, what's a word when it's not constant? Recurring pains in, like, I don't know, we'll take a stomach, why not, stomach cramps of some sort, but, you know, they're not feeling it right now. How do you describe it properly to a doctor? Well, you can have a TENS machine. Maybe you can keep raising the TENS machine until it's like, yeah, this is like the pain I feel, like this is the sensation. And then, you know, I guess a doctor probably wouldn't need to put it on to try it, but, you know, someone who's not aware of what that pain sensation can feel like can try it. And excuse me, I think I accidentally muted. I hope I was not muted for this entire time. I should check that really quickly. Hold on. Okay, look, it looks like it was only more than the past 20 seconds. Where I was saying it was like you can try it. And, oh yeah, so people can empathise better, which is, you know, not to say that people shouldn't have empathy in the first place, but certainly I think the gravity of how things feel is better understood when you can feel it for yourself, which is fair. Like, I don't mean to say that in a disparaging sense of, like, look how cynical we can be as humankind. We can't even feel empathy unless we can actually feel the situation ourselves. I think it's sort of like inherently in human nature. It's hard to properly comprehend things like pain, grief, except emotions in general, because they are subjective. You know, someone in deep pain, you'd be like, how deep a pain? Is it easier to empathize if you feel the deep pain yourself? Of course it is. Anyone who says it's not is, I'm not going to say you're crazy, because that's certainly going too far, but who are you? You're Hugh, right? I think is underselling it, you know? Of course, it's so much easier to, not even so much easier to empathize. You can still be empathetic. I think that's probably the distinction here. You can still be empathetic both before and after, but it's easier to understand the situation if you not know it more personally. AKA, it's easier to empathize and understand with someone's pain when you feel the pain itself. We can only have our scope of our own view, but of course, I think it's our human obligation to try very hard to make sure that we don't narrow ourselves to only our perspective. But, you know, things like this can make it easier. Is that the number one use case for a TENS machine? Absolutely not, probably not. But, like, for me, who doesn't actually have an other use for a TENS machine, that seems like a pretty reasonable use for it, to be honest. Now, it is that sort of just like, not, what's the word? I was going to say belittling, but I don't really think that's the word I wanted. Is that sort of, like, the general idea of what I'm trying to say is, like, is that sort of being reductive? That's what I want. To the use of, you know, the benefits of a TENS machine? Absolutely. Like, I apologise. I don't really know. The full extent of its power, the full extent of its usability, etc., etc. But again, I'm trying to expand from my own perspective, right? So yeah, it's an interesting sensation. The worst one, I can't remember what the mode was actually called, but it felt like basically it was like on my stomach. It was like intense vibrations and crampings that go around the outside, and then like a flick, a strong like sharp stab in the middle afterwards. It's interesting, you know, how many different modes I think there were in the first place for being able to simulate these muscular contractions. Contractions, that's the word I wanted instead of cramps this entire time. Not the entire time, but some of the words. Yeah, I don't know. If you ever find yourself using one, then I suppose you can try it for yourself and see what it actually feels like to you, or maybe it feels like nothing, who knows. Am I like dying to use it again? Not really. It's just like oh, that was interesting. You know, there was a curiosity, if anything. And now that curiosity's been sated, there is nothing left for it. Anyway, I'm going to round this episode off here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Adam across the new horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope we see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time. Bye-bye for now.